Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Hello
Hello.
and happy birthday. Welcome everybody to Melanie's birthday cheers. That's what I got. Sorry. Okay, are you ready?
Oh
Okay,
yeah, I'm
wait.
ready.
Are you ready? Okay,
I-
everybody, are you ready? Okay, let's do this. Cheers. Okay, so it sounded like a bell. Guys, I have to logistics corner myself. Logistics corner. I feel that everyone needs to know that we're still miles apart. I just used 2 wine glasses from my home to make the clinking.
A little behind the scenes of how this very super important podcast works. We
Yes,
have a team.
and behind the scenes of my crazy mind who can't focus on other things until I settle these useless details.
So,
Again, how Logistics Corner was born. I turned my crazy into a little segmenty thing. Okay, so there's just 3 days, guys.
just 3 days. Let's do this
3
thing.
days. Okay, let's get started. Okay, how about something general? I'm going to say this. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but I was starting to feel like that with all these big things happening, I was starting to feel like maybe are we finally settling into their like story or style or what it is that they're trying to do. Do you think things are settling?
I still feel like there are some moving parts, but there's like now we know 100% Drew is a bad guy.
Oh
Drew
my
is
gosh.
a quartermain.
Yeah, like I don't even buy it. Like I get it. Like like some villains are just made or we watch them get made because we saw bad things
Yes,
happen.
yes.
But this time it's just like every time they do it, I'm like, I get it. He pays people off. But that's literally the line that flashes through my mind. I'm like, yes, Drew is a bad guy. Understood. Understood.
He
Like
doesn't
he's
care about his friends. Wow.
no, but it's like he's no worse than any other quartermain, like at
I
all.
know.
And I'm just like, okay. But that's what it feels like. It just feels like let's label him this way. And everyone's it feels like every time they talk about him, it just feels like 20 people pointing their fingers at Drew, being like, Drew, you're horrible. I'm like, I guess. Okay.
And Michael
Like
is angry,
very,
very angry, and revenge. He wants
very
revenge.
angry. Oh yeah, he was so angry he was wriggling around Sasha in the kitchen. I don't remember what week that happened, but it happened.
It was last week. I need a snack. I'm really mad. I need a snack.
I know he's such a child, like baby CEO. So angry. Could you make me a snack? Can I have some crackers and juice?
I know we
Um,
slept together and I got really drunk and I possibly impregnated you. And I don't know because I'm not thinking about it, but can you please make me a snack?
he has no game, right? He's like married and unhappy, and he's like, "Hey Sasha, why did you make desserts like that when we were together?" Like, because she wasn't allowed to act like a commoner when she was with you. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
why, but like she wasn't allowed to cook. Apparently, this is a lifelong skill. She used to be a chef, but we didn't discover it until later.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I was starting to feel like, okay, are we settling? Are we settling? But I forget what happened, but something happened that made me go, no, we're not settling. But I also think we're settling. It may have been like Lulu randomly waking up, which felt really weird after I
So
felt like we were
weird.
getting some like unwinding from the Sam stuff.
Yes.
And maybe I thought it was settling until like the actor who plays Michael posted that post.
I know. It's so heartbreaking.
And then like the other articles that said it's a soap opera, so you never know, but it doesn't look like they're going to recast him initially. It doesn't mean that they won't, but I was honestly looking forward to like just the guy who replaces him because I like him. I don't know, I think he does a good job.
I think
So
so
I
too.
just figured it sucks, it's shocking, but to not have Michael, it makes me worried a little bit about like what exactly is going down in terms of like I'm not gonna lie, Carly. I'm
Okay.
yeah, I'm just sort of like because I do feel that we're definitely seeing a lot of they're trying to draw on the past somewhat. I know that sounds
Yes.
strange considering the Holly Robert stuff. But they're definitely trying to revive the Spencers. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a few years now, but the Quartermains are like fully revived. I think sometimes I see them like being like really calling on the past in terms of the scenes between Christina and Joss. Like, hey, remember
Yes.
we were like family and we both hate Ava. Remember Morgan? So like I feel like they're like, okay, let's draw on this. And I feel like it's relationship focused a bit more and definitely more analytical, I feel. Like I feel like
Okay.
they're deconstructing things a lot more in terms of like why people are doing what they're doing. Like if you think about the scenes with Alexis, she kind of goes into this whole monologue about how she copes. Like she was sounding like Molly. She went into her whole thing about
Yes.
while she feels how she feels like about Sam and all that stuff. Um it feels telenovela-y, like a lot of like boom boom boom, you know what I mean, especially with the Lulu stuff.
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I just get the vibe sometimes that maybe we're finally settling a little.
Well, I'm ready to settle in the sense that, and even though this happened last week, and it's the only thing I'll mention from last week, is the fact that Jason has agreed to live in the Quartermain home. Like, I want to see kind of how that's going to play out. And I loved your post about, potentially Monica giving the house to him. Like, I want to see that settle in, not for it to be like a short lived commitment, but for him to really be entrenched in that house and for us to like see more of his story, because that's a lot of what we've been missing, right? Like, we get bits and pieces of him, but I want to see him settle into that home and see his storyline unfold as to what it feels like to be back there, to not remember being back. And well, you remember, you know what I mean? And then
Oh
being with his
yeah.
son and being surrounded by his family and that dynamic and what that's going to feel like. Like he's going to need a Jason quiet, safe space.
Well, that's the thing. That's also a part of like the direction I think that they're going because it's a
Mm-hmm.
big move putting Jason back in
Mm-hmm.
that house. But, like think about how when they talk about Monica, right? They refer to her as being unwell and she's like
Yeah.
off screen. And so when Jason moved in, I made that post like, what if it's his house, right? Monica's his mom. And
Yes.
I can't even imagine how happy she would be to learn that Jason is moving in and just watching him and Dante prioritize the kids in the way that they are.
Yes. Oh,
But then when you really, really think about it, it was always Tracy and Monica, right? Tracy being like,
yes.
it's my house, and Monica's like, no, it's Alan's and he gave it to me. So now what I'm also seeing is like a turning of the generations, right? Like passing of the baton. And I feel like I'm watching it before my very eyes. And it's hard because I feel like it's happening to me. You know what I mean? Like it's weird as much as because I'm like, oh no, this is what it was like when I was a young viewer watching it and kind of literally coming up with the Carly character when she was manipulating Bobby and she found out Bobby was her mom and she was trying to destroy her life. And then it was like Liz, Emily, Nick, Lucky, like that was like a big thing. And like those were like my people, like the generation I came up with. And
Yes.
now it's weird seeing things. Like, I mean, Sonny's always there. Like, he's always got some story because they are building up, the next Rick and Sonny, meaning like Christina and Molly.
Yes.
And Jason, it's kind of like they finally pressed play on his character.
Yes.
And so there's that, right? Really cementing that. And I could see the Jason Ned, right? Ned being like, it's my house because it's like he's lived there the longest.
Yes.
And then Jason's like, no. And everyone else saying, well, it's Jason's house. Monica gave it to him. Like, I can really see that dynamic
Mm.
between Tracy and Monica being held with Ned and maybe Jason. I mean, obviously, Tracy's still there. So I can definitely see Tracy's
Oh
still
my
pushing
word.
that card and everybody just sort of changing the saying.
Yes.
But I'm seeing the tides turning. And so like Jason has a space. Sonny, like I said, he's very like adaptable and always has a space regardless of the story, right? Like he could either be involved in a mob storyline or he's often involved with his children, but I find he always has that space. And I
Yes.
feel that a lot's changed for Carly's character. And I know a lot of people think she's involved in everything, but for me, it's different. She's just one of those people that I grew up watching. She's familiar to me.
Yes.
And so, and even me, trust me, there's times where I'm like, I'm laughing because I know Carly does not need to be involved in certain storylines. But right now, it's just hard that there's this is like one of my favorite characters and like she's disappearing. She's being completely
Yes.
disconnected from her people. I feel like they're trying to create a different circle by like bringing Lucas back. And again, the revival of the Spencers are throwing her into this like Bobby role of like matriarch, but there's no
Hmm.
like consistency with like seeing it happen. And then when I find
Yes.
out that like, Chad Duell's leaving and like they may not replace Michael, it's like then what? Because even when Sunny's not in Carly's life, she always has like her stuff like with Michael, right? That's this other really important person in her life. So I don't
Yes.
know what to make of it. I'm like, I know that they've been throwing hints that she would probably be involved with the kids. Like she's obviously like when they were doing the like Sam's funeral, like Carly was the one who stood up and finally started talking about Sam's kids.
Right?
So, and like she was there the night the Danny found out. So I think that yeah, like she'll be somewhat involved, but like yeah, it's weird because I'm watching her kind of like not really having scenes or stories. Like at best, she flirts a lot with Brennan, but that's it.
Right? Was she in it this week? I don't even think so.
No, so it's really weird watching it happen, you know? So whether
Yeah.
that's part of the story they're trying to tell, I don't know, but I mean, we've been talking about this way before like right now, the concept of like they are building up the next generation of characters and it is like rolling over and you do sort of see it, right? Like having the nostalgia of Rick back is really cementing, you know, the direction of like a Christina and Molly remembering their past, their history, who their fathers are. Like
Hmm.
really they're being very black and white about like the Molly character, the Christina character. Like, look, they're opposites. They duel. They're gonna go after each other, you know? So they really, I
Yes.
feel, are like building up this other generation, you know? So it's strange on the one hand, kind of seeing it happen,
Yes.
but also yeah, I mean here and there I guess I'm desperate to get a crumb of like the signature of this new team that's writing the show, trying to understand like okay, you shook things up and I'd like to believe, that there's a reason for this and there's a direction and vision that they want. And so I guess now, like in a very spotty way, I feel like every now and then I may be getting a glimpse of it.
Okay, that gives me some hope because there are times that I'm like, I'm a hardcore fan, so I'm gonna watch no matter what. I'm gonna
Oh
watch the up
yeah.
and downs, the change of writers, but I was still feeling a little kind of in between. So I like the way that you kind of laid that out for me to set the zone for next week.
Yeah, because sometimes I think I'm seeing it, but another thing happens and I'm like, I don't know, like it distracts me. Like right now, the
Yes.
big distractions for me is definitely Lulu and like the news about Michael. But even now, like this is different, right? Like look at this. Like this is also what I find to be different. The Quartermain's business has always been a thing, but now we're like pulling in an outsider. Like Curtis is, oh, I don't know. He's definitely no Lucy, but when we're talking outsiders, there was
Oh,
always like the Quartermains and Lucy.
yes.
Curtis is not that, but I mean, because that's why I was always like, what's happening right now? Like, you have so many family members and anybody could be
Right.
doing this, but it's odd, like, okay, Curtis is pulled in, but now like Michael, like there hasn't been much interaction there, but now it's like, hey, Curtis, you're Drew's friend, like he's going there. So even that combo is different.
It really is. Like, I want to know how you felt about that when I saw them interact this week. I'm like, we all know our feelings and your feelings about Curtis, and now you see these two interact, and I just couldn't help but laugh, especially like when Curtis was at the gym and kept calling Drew like a big baby.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did you think?
So it's like he has like I'm just laughing because Michael is from a different world. One where it's like
Hmm.
we threaten people and there's this unwritten code that you take the threat, you take the manipulation and you don't share it. You don't share it.
No.
Right? You can like walk up to someone who's close to someone else and like tell them all this stuff and they just don't say anything. They hold it in and whatever. But Curtis is not that. He's like, well, I want to talk to Drew about everything you just said. But I'm like, Bella, like if you do that, then it's not possible for Michael to move forward and deliver on what he's telling you. So I mean,
Yes.
there's that. And I think they're definitely highlighting the inexperience. And I don't disagree with Drew. I think it's bizarre that you kind of insinuated that he would end up being CEO, like making him interim. I get it. When he was having that conversation with Michael,
Yes.
I'm like, that's completely logical. You're interim, but no, I don't have you in mind long term. And honestly, Why would anyone have him in mind long term? He's been CEO, and do you know what he got from it? He's like, I'm going to start a music program. What are you
I know. I
talking about?
can't.
Like, I think that's beautiful. That's wonderful, Curtis. But being CEO is all about money. Like, no kidding. He's not like a good choice for this. I mean, Michael, who knows? That could be part of Michael's plan. Like, follow me. I'll make you CEO and I'll watch you tank Drew's dream and what he
Well,
built
right?
as his legacy. Like, what? Yeah. So, I mean, I thought that whole thing was funny. I don't think that Curtis is qualified to be CEO, but it's clear that Michael definitely got to him and Drew definitely did change, but I just don't know what that means for Curtis. Like, can you not be his buddy? Like, can you do what you need to do and be a little cutthroat?
I don't know. I know, like I
Because
can't even see how this is all gonna work out.
like he's Mr. Nice Guy. You know, he's a great
Yes.
boss at the Savoy. He's very like he works so well like in the business sense. Because in his personal life, we know that's like a complete,
Oh gosh, no.
different situation. But I loved it. He like ended up spilling everything to Jordan. And I think that's also something, right?
No,
A
but
lot of Curtis's life happens with Jordan.
I know, and I loved it was like a nod to us. It felt like when she's like, "Oh, I know how much you don't like when people keep things from you." And then she like
100%.
legit razzed him, and then he just ignored it and continued like spilling his guts.
And that's Curtis. That's straight up Curtis to not even pick up on that comment. But honestly, it really felt like that. I was actually kind of surprised she made that like confident
Right?
dig about him to him. That was the best. As was Michael's recording his whole conversation with Drew.
Damn, so good.
Like,
So good.
Curtis doesn't stand a chance against Michael, but like, I just don't know where this is going to go. And mostly just because we know the actor is leaving.
Yes,
If not
exactly.
for that, I'd be like, no, this would be super fun. Like they're just gonna like he's gonna win. Like Michael's definitely gonna win. And I just was looking forward to seeing what Curtis as an enemy even looks like.
Well, that's exactly it. That's what I mean. Like, I have a hard time picturing what Curtis looks like in one like a vengeful, vindictive, angry type role. He's always like, I kind of agreed with Drew in the sense that like he's only handled like small business.
Yeah.
Now we have like a huge conglomerate. We have all these people he has to deal with. Like, I can't see him being that person.
No, like the woman who tried to murder his daughter, he visited her in prison and was like, yeah, I think she's pretty changed. Like, I think she's sorry.
She's
Like,
chill.
yeah, like we're cool. We're cool. Also not gonna tell Portia about that. And then I think when he wanted Sonny to do him a favor and Sonny rejected him, I think he might have like tossed a file, grabbed a file. I think he huffed.
Yeah,
At
he
best,
huffed.
he huffed, and then like a while later, he went to talk to Sonny about it, and Sonny was like, "Oh, we had a thing." Like, what? So yeah, he doesn't know how to beef. So we'll see. We'll see if he figures it out.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess we will.
Oh, but he knows
What?
about. Does he know about him and Nina?
I can't remember.
I
He
think he
knows about
knows Nina has a crush.
I don't think he knows the extent of anything, and everybody knows about the air quotes one kiss. Curtis actually only knows about one kiss.
That's definitely.
So
I think he's gonna use that to really like vilify Drew. Like he's gonna also come to the same conclusion: 1+1=2. Drew is a bad guy. Like he promised me CEO and it didn't work, and also all that stuff with Nina. I don't care so much, but bad Drew. So I
no,
think he'll
but
get
like
there. He'll do the
oh,
math.
I think he'll get there, but like I really loved the conversation, taking it back to like Drew and Michael.
Okay.
When Drew's like, yeah, it was only one kiss. Michael's like, it was only one kiss. Like basically, like, are you sure? He's giving Willow and Drew so many opportunities to say
So
something. Like, yeah,
many.
I can't believe like Jason would fight me over one kiss. I was like, oh my god, Drew's brazen. He's so
I
bad.
know. I know. He's such a bad guy. Such a bad guy. And then it's like when him and Will is like, does he know? He's like, no, nobody knows about us on camera. It's like, okay. But like Willow, seriously, like you're the wife, you have this personal relationship. Like it would have been good for you to have just said the whole truth.
Fudge man,
And
right?
I just can't because I'm going to love the aftermath of this
Oh
decision.
yes.
Um, there's gonna be so much pregnant. I just
So
don't
much.
know.
Brooklyn, Sasha, Willow, all of the babies.
Okay, so Sasha, I love that was so sweet when she showed up at Maxie's being like, you said we're a family, so I'm gonna do that. Because like the last family member I had
Aw.
I hooked up with, and I don't want to do that with all of you. So
But Maxie's face, she's like, is it? She's like, no.
yeah, I know. Because that's the thing. Because obviously she could say she had a one night stand. That's like a fine story to tell. But I'm like, if I'm Sasha, like I'm 100% being like, sorry, Cody,
Mm,
but everyone has to know that I slept with someone else and I never slept with you.
honestly.
Because it's like, you can't go around thinking that like everyone's going to be like, oh, you're having your first cousin's
Oh,
baby.
fudge.
So 100% she's going to have to like say, like, no, I didn't. I sleep with other people. That
Outside
wasn't
of my
him.
family. I think she's gonna have to, lead with it. Yeah, I'm a one night stand girl. Like this is how that happened. Just dive into it.
Oh, wait a second. You said I'm a one night stand girl. Is that how it happened with Brando? That's how it happened with Brando.
Oh,
That's how it happened with Brando. Wait a
oh my
second,
word.
because she got pregnant really early, and they weren't necessarily together, and they said like we did everything a little bit backwards.
Yeah, good for you,
Yes, but
girl.
I love the scenes that they gave, about her fears, like what if it when she said like what if
Yeah.
it happens again, like in terms of like having the
Mm,
baby and stuff like that. But I mean, that was amazing, and I feel like Sasha will confide in Maxie, which is going to be funny because she knows
so
so much
fun.
about Michael and Willow, like against her will, but she knows
Yep.
she will know so much, so much. And then what? Willow's going to be pregnant, and then Willow's going to be like, "Oh my gosh, Michael, I'm so happy that you're probably a dad again." Like it's going to be so terrible, so terrible.
So
Do
we
you
got
think
a
Willow's
Drew
going to get pregnant?
baby. Yeah, we're gonna have a Drew baby. We're gonna
Okay,
have a Michael baby from Sasha, and then like Brooklyn's just gonna have a regular baby, but have to deal with Geo Giant baby.
Geo Giant baby. That is amazing. Geo Giant baby.
Yeah.
Yes. Like it's because like Lois's face, like when Olivia
Oh
was
my
like, "You're
word.
gonna become a grandma." Lois's eyes, "Ooh, I am a grandma." And then Brooklyn's face about like becoming a parent. She's like, "Yeah, for the first time."
With
Like,
you.
like, like this is not gonna be good, right? So like
No.
this is a lot actually. Hold on, my head's gonna explode. So Dante and her have a baby.
Yeah.
The baby is giant baby Geo that
Yeah.
Lulu just scared, stranger dangered everybody in the
But she
town.
almost kind of flirted with him too. She kind of flirted with everybody.
I don't want to. I don't want to think about that because she was talking to James, and I don't know what
Oh
category
no,
you're
not
putting this on.
James. With James, it was scary. She was so mean. I'm like, you're a mom.
But exactly, she's like, "Oh, do you have kids? Because you have a bunch of lollipops in there." It's like middle. What's that
Weirdo.
called? I don't like it when I don't know the words. The middle part where he opened. It's not
The
a glove
console?
compartment. Thank you. So in the console, but just think about this. Even if you think you were gone for like a couple days or a few weeks, and you came in and found a child that doesn't look like yours in your home, could
Mhm.
it not have been one of your kids' friends? And it's a really weird way
Right?
to talk to like another kid. Yeah, that was intense with James, but James is just like amazing. Like his
He's
relationship with
so
Maxie
cute.
is just like off the oh wow, it's like a new like little cute Spencer Nicholas, but like where like it's healthier. Like it's a healthier version of that parent-child duo. They're so cute. He's so cute.
I loved, like, we talk about how normal their family setting is. So no matter
Mhm.
what, Maxie just brings that realness, and
Yes.
her entire family. So with the fact that like when Spinelli and her are talking and James is running around the room, she just whispers kind of quietly, "Cookies." It's like my favorite line of the
Yes.
whole 3 days.
Yes, yes. Like I love it. I love it. But yeah, like so Lulu does that whole thing with James, but then with Gio, I was just like Johnny was freaking out. Like he was just yelling at the TV. He's like, "What is she doing? Introduce. She looks so scary. Look at how she's
Yes.
dressed." And he
Yes.
was he was so upset because like Gio's a child. He has like a
Right?
baby face. He's a kid. He's such a kid. He's always laughing. He's always like finding it funny being caught up in all like the family drama because it comes from a big family. So Johnny was like
Mhm.
really upset on behalf of like Gio. I think he was Gio's dad in that moment. And
Aww.
he was just not having it. He's like, she is scary. It's weird. I'm like, okay, calm down. I'm like, he doesn't seem afraid, so we're good. But I did find like her whole dress just utterly creepy. Actually, let's talk about how she got dressed. Why don't we talk about that? So at first I was super judgmental, but then I realized I also have a filing cabinet in my office and it houses no files. Probably should, but it
Same.
doesn't. And like the bottom has like my gym shoes and like just stuff, like Kleenex boxes that I hoard because I
Uh-huh.
like a certain pattern. So I hoard all of the patterns that I like. And then the top has like a bunch of craft stuff. So just like it's just random stuff and totally needs to be cleaned out. But like, so this girl, okay, wakes up, gives her legs a little massage, and she's good. Not only that,
Oh.
she's like, this surgery I had recently, probably had it recently because it hurts when I move. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get out of this bed, rub my thighs, lunge on the sofa, then lunge back onto the bed. That's my PT. That's my PT.
Yeah.
And I think I'm
Yeah.
ready for the road. I'm ready for the road. And I'm just like, okay, if you've been in a coma, that's easy. You're in the coma, there's no pretending involved. But once you're out of a coma, I would not be able to sustain a liquid diet.
Right? Thank you
I'd be
very
like,
much.
I need food. But to be fair though, like if you're a Lulu, aren't you not terrified? Like you're hearing Cyrus.
I know. Oh my gosh. I was terrified because they were playing it up to Lulu's perspective of who he is. But I also
Mhm.
do think he took authority that he shouldn't have in terms of like the power he has. So that was weird.
No, that was completely insane. I mean, if you're
Okay. I was
trying
like,
to like, no, that was completely nutty because there's no way Laura was
right?
like, oh yeah, like handle her care, be the primary contact person, befriend the staff so they look creepy when her actual family shows up that knows her and then calls you. And I absolutely think you should arrange a transfer when Laura was more than happy to have her at Turning Woods, meaning she could visit her
Yes.
more, meaning never. So all those people, like Carly, who remembered she had a cousin, she's like, oh my gosh, do you remember my cousin Lulu? Jason, can you risk your life in Africa? Let's find Lucky Guys. Do you remember him? And then it's like, okay, she had the transplant, and everyone's like, I guess she's going back to coma. Like, no, it's like everyone thinks coma is a place and not a state that she's in. And then she's gone from everyone's mind. She's like, bye, Lulu. She's back at coma. And so everybody disappeared. Everyone disappeared. And then and then Cyrus is the only one there. And then he's like arranging, and it's like scary because it's like for all she knows, she's been nabbed.
Yeah, exactly.
And like if you're cut open on the side, who knows? Is she being nailed? Is she being
Right?
sold on the black market? She doesn't know.
Hmm.
And I don't know how far back she remembers. Like, does she know Cyrus is her uncle?
Okay, but here's what confused me to all heck was she's like, she was talking about her two kids, her
Yeah.
daughter and son.
Yeah.
What am I forgetting?
What do you mean? Rocco and Charlotte?
Yes, I did forget. I was like, oh my God, does she mean when Maxie had the baby and then she took her back? I'm like, how far
What?
back are we going?
No! Charlotte! And nobody knows where Charlotte is.
Well, yeah, that's true. Nobody knows where Charlotte
So I
is.
mean, yeah, like that's also going to be interesting news for her. So now I'm like, look, I'm glad she got out of there, but I was scared because that's the thing, the fake out about Cyrus being a threat. My favorite line actually comes from Cyrus.
Yes.
It was savage, but it
Yes, tell
was
me.
on point. And basically he was like daring Lucky to spend more than 1 month with his child.
That was amazing. That was
Yeah.
like the truth bombs that came out of Cyrus was unreal. I was like,
Ooh.
say it, do it.
But Kate, like it's true, right? Saying like, who are you to talk about family when you haven't spent more than a month with your own child? But the thing about Cyrus is that he may not be wrong, but he's also the equivalent of like a stranger who's taking an interest in your family and
Yep.
has a comment about how everyone functions, and then just pops in and is like, look, I can family better than you, and I'm gonna. So it's weird. from that perspective that like he is essentially a stranger to Lucky because he hasn't been around, and to Lulu
Yes.
because she was at coma. And so
Yeah.
and he was in jail for a while too. So it's weird on so many levels.
So
And we don't
many.
really know how bad he is because could the guy who, for some bizarre reason, wanted to send Lulu away,
Hmm.
is he the same guy who poisoned Sam?
Oh crap. Okay.
Like, why is that necessary? Like, like,
Hmm.
I don't get it. I don't have more than that, really.
Okay.
Because, like, you got the organ, and then you're like, now you must die fully. And now, Lulu, I'm happy that you have a chance at life, and I want you to have it far from your family. How do we how do we solve this puzzle?
We
But
just keep watching.
yeah, yeah. So that's messed up. And then like I don't understand how come Lucky and Elizabeth couldn't recognize Lulu because her face
I know,
wasn't just
so
shown at the
funny.
end. It was
So
shown because it's
funny.
like you're looking for Lulu. So this footage would be Lulu centered a little. And I know she was lying down. And when she
Just
laid
a
down,
little.
her hair looked maybe horizontal, very like sunset horizon. And then when she stood up, her hair was like vertical and it like
Yeah.
fell.
It was
And they were
flowing.
like,
Yeah.
I can't recognize her. Like she's blonde and her face was there. I mean, you should be able to recognize any angle of the face. And anyways, so she was just like, I'm 100%. I'm going to pull this fire alarm. I'm going to rush to reception because that's where they keep all of their clothes, especially in the filing cabinet, I hear. So she checks the bottom filing cabinet. It's empty. It's empty as it would be with so many patients. And then the top one happened to have a go bag in it. And like
Love it.
even when she was on the side of the road, she's like, "Oh, thank you," like a hair elastic. I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, okay." And like there was Lulu being like really resourceful, I guess, when she like makes up a story about a fight with her boyfriend, and then 2 seconds later, he's asking about the boyfriend, and she's like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Wow, okay, come on,
Coma brain.
like like it's literally the newest memory you've created and you can't hold on to that. Like it's the newest thing. It's not like you have to battle with what happened yesterday. You don't know. So I'm just like stick to your story and focus. And how happy were you when you saw who picked her up?
Oh my gosh, so happy because I was so scared. And I was like, okay, now he's gonna have a super huge crush on Lulu. That's gonna be
Yes,
fun
that's
to
what I was
watch.
thinking. First of all, I'm attracted to you because you're not my family, you know?
So that's one thing you got going for you.
I was just like, where I was like scared, right? Because like you're like scared about Cyrus, and you're like, oh, it's not
Hmm.
Cyrus. But then you're like, is this gonna be a soap opera land where like for months Lulu can't make it back to Port Charles? She's in the city.
Right?
It's gonna be a month of near misses. Because he's like, I'm picking up hay. And I'm like, are you gonna say that you work at the Quartermains? And then when he offered for her to use the phone, I was like, oh my gosh, is she gonna run across like Dante's number or like Tracy's or just anything? And then nothing.
Yeah.
And so what I find bizarre in all this is like take me to Port Charles and drop me off at this alley.
Gate.
Like where could you be? Like you're not in the suburbs, that's for sure. If you're being dropped off at an alley gate.
It looks like the back area of Brando's mechanic space.
But why would someone do that? Be like, okay, let's take you to this industrial type area that's
Be safe
empty.
now.
And here's some cash to wave around. It won't attract anything bad. Trust me.
No, no. Not in this town. Nothing bad ever happens.
Seriously. Anyways, and then so she finds herself at her house and like knows where the key is and all that stuff. How did you think that was gonna go?
I was I was kind of hoping that she would walk into the bathroom or walk more into the house and see Maxie and Sasha, but I think it was so perfect with James because James tends to overhear and see things he's not supposed to.
I
So it turned
know
out absolutely perfect.
it did because I was freaking out because I'm like, hey, like if not Maxie, then who? But I loved how quickly the dots were connected because the going back and forth with James. I love Sasha and Maxie running down with weapons, like with bats and
Yes.
whatever. And then it's like, because now you don't know what's happening, because now you're like, okay, she's awake, but like now what? And then when Spinelli walks in and was like, well, I have a simple solution. And I love how, like, look, let's be real. As viewers, we're all essentially citizens of Port Charles. and we care
Yes.
very deeply. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at Johnny. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. He would never move in without installing some tech. And like, we're actually like, the reaction is like, it's so real. I could not be happier to see that like James was vindicated.
Yes, me too.
And then he was so happy about the concept of like going to the police station and giving a statement and the whole thing.
I was like, is he gonna be a cop? It's be
That's
cute,
what
you know?
Johnny said. He's like,
Yeah.
wasn't his dad a cop? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like there's Mac too, but like I can't even imagine
Oh yeah,
the
the
panic
trauma.
Maxie will have when
Mm-hmm.
that day comes. But when he starts to look at the album and goes, "That's who I saw."
Well, it was cute because it made me think, like, you know, when you go to the police station on TV and they show you like the album of criminals, like I felt like that's
Yeah,
what he was doing. Because like, where did this album appear from? Who has printed pictures? What's happening?
I do. I
I
have
do
one.
too, but of
I
the
have one.
people of today.
Oh, well. And so okay, so he identifies, this, but if you think back, let's say to like Lucky, what would you think if someone's like, "Hey, your coma sister is gone. Can't find her."
Oh, you're asking me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's a question for you, the only other person I'm talking to right now.
Okay, I have had some wine, so bear with
Yeah.
well, I would think like okay, because of Cyrus, yes, the whole kidnapping thing is possible, but the whole point is, well, for viewers, I would think she just got up and left. Just like I
Yeah,
gotta
like
get
that's
up, I gotta get out of here, I gotta stretch my legs.
like part of me is like like I would be hopeful like did she get up on her own? Because he's like she can't move on her own. One, I'd be like, how do you misplace a coma person?
Well, right?
And then
Come on.
but then I'd go like be hopeful and be like, wait a second, do you think like did she get up? But either way, I just want to say this: the director totally nonchalant. He's like, look, we lose a coma patient here and there. It happens. They get
That's so
misplaced,
funny.
they fall off the bed, roll under it, and then we just never hear from them again. So just like, and then when he's like, "Can I have the footage?" The guy was like, "This isn't an emergency. I'm sure she'll turn up. That's not our protocol."
So
I'm like,
funny.
I was like, "What am I watching? It's not an emergency to find out what
A
happened to the
human.
missing patient sooner." It's like, where do you come from? He's like, "No. What I hear is the longer we wait to start looking into this, the better it is for the results of finding this person." It was so weird. It was
So
so
weird.
weird. Anyway, so I was glad that she found Cody. She goes to James, but now she's on the coordinates. I'm like, this is weird because I don't know what's going to go down. She's seeing Geo now. She first of all she sees the renovations. She sees Geo, and now I'm like, what's going to happen? Is she going to like be a weirdo who just lives in the barn with Cody?
Before we get to the weirdness, it made me laugh because when you're talking about the director and about Lucky and what he thinks is happening, he broke down to Elizabeth basically like, let's make this look like a case because Elizabeth has to look into everything that happened with Sam and her
Yeah,
medication. And Lucky's like,
yeah.
you know, like pulling on his like old school skills of being a cop. And it made me laugh so much because I'm like, well, he is truly a cop from the PCPD because he can't put two and two together.
But do you know what I was also thinking? I was actually seeing Lucky a little bit like a kid.
Okay.
Like with a kid, sometimes you have to gamify everything and make it fun. And it's sort of like I
Yes.
felt that Elizabeth, in order to make him a father and stick around, she's like, look, let's solve crimes. There's a crime at my work. There's a crime with your sister. Let's go, Lucky. Let's solve things. Like
I
I really
love
felt
that
like she
more.
had to like gamify him to be like, do life now, be a dad, get a job, put down some roots, but she has to make it fun, all like solving a
Yes, of
mystery.
course.
And I'm like, she's gonna be exhausted trying to turn every single thing into like a crime solving. Oh, where's dinner tonight? Do we know? Where will it come from? That's how she'll domesticate Lucky.
I love it. I love it hard.
Oh, anyways, so Lulu, after like weirding out Geo, and at this point, this is where I
Yes.
was at. I'm like, okay, this is good. They have the picture of this girl in a hoodie. They have a picture. Geo, like at least people can kind of corroborate this story. Plus, Lucky actually saw her face, so that helps. That helps a lot. That everybody's kind of on the same page. But Cody saw Lulu in a coma lying down.
That is so true.
Yeah.
But she was lying down. Remember, that's like totally different. Horizontal, vertical, totally different.
Yeah. So vertically, he couldn't remember. I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? I'm like, will she like trip and fall on her back? And he'd be like, oh, wait a second. I know you. I
Every,
know who you are.
every time you say stuff like this is when I take a pause to take a sip of wine, and then I'm always about to spit it out.
But like, what was shocking to me is that Rocco recognized his mom vertical and from behind.
I know, what the heck?
And he was like, Mom, and she's like, Rocco, and I'm like, this is not good. Like, I mean, I was actually starting to feel really bad because in her mind, she's like,
Yeah.
she was like calculating how long she's been gone. And I feel like maybe she thinks it's a couple of days, a couple of weeks. But I
Yes.
think she knows now.
How long was it? 5 years?
I think she's been gone 4 years, almost 4 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Lot can change.
But there's a lot of
She has
math
a new
there
son.
because it's like James was a baby.
Yeah.
So she would never have recognized him. So there's a few things to keep in mind. She was gone for 4 years, but then you have to take into consideration SORAS, the soap opera rapid age
Yes.
syndrome. So I mean, basically,
Hmm.
he's unrecognizable. And the fact that she was able to recognize him was probably more of an accomplishment than him being able to recognize her.
Very true.
So now you have Dante living there. I don't know where Lulu's gonna live. Maybe there actually, because Tracy might want her there
Oh yeah,
to be
totally,
with
totally.
Rocco and to bond with her family.
Yes.
And then the Geo news, like that's gonna be huge.
It's gonna break her brain. It's gonna melt, fall out of her ears.
Could you imagine? And it's like she doesn't like Brooklyn, and then to live there, and then that Brooklyn's married to Chase and good friends with Maxie.
Her brain's gonna explode. Like I can't wait to see all of those parts. And we've talked about that before. Like what does her world look like? I mean, Nina was a little bit different because she came into a new world with the mentality of like a 20-year-old. Here we have Lulu stuck a couple of years behind, and all of these relationships have
I
evolved
know,
and grown and progressed, and people have become closer, and she's still stuck in her really young mind in a different way.
I know, and it's just like, how will she process the Sam thing?
Oh my word, right?
Sam's kids and Rocco are forever intertwined. Like that family is
Yes.
beautiful, and so that's pretty rough because now she's processing this. But it's like Sam took care of your boy. And I feel like I wonder if that's something that Lulu will grow to do in a
I
way.
sure as heck hope so, yeah.
So I just find the relationship between Rocco, Scout, and Danny really special. And
Yes.
they're really being well surrounded. And I definitely think there's going to be something really special about those kids and the magic they bring and all the people they bring together. And so, in a way, like all those three kids are like the new Michael because Michael had that
Yes,
magic, right? Michael had
he
so
did.
many adults and brought together so many families. And
So
so
true.
I think that's what those kids are going to do.
We have one more big storyline to tackle.
I know. But before we leave that one with Scout, when they were trying to figure out where they're going to live, they're like, but what about Scout? She's like, no, my dad said I could stay. I don't want to go there. He's going to commute. So I loved it because it's like Drew's
So
irrelevant in this
cute.
whole equation. And
Totally.
he has no say, right? He's like, whatever, I'm gonna keep my kid in my house. I don't necessarily have to be here. And then
There's
everyone
pictures
else,
around.
yeah. And
Oh.
so like it's funny because it's like regardless of what he feels, it's like all everyone's just moving in with him and he can't say anything about it. Even
Exactly.
funnier if Jason ends up being the owner of the house.
Yes.
So a big trial happened. Big, big, big.
Big, huge, massive.
I will say this. I didn't know it all happened so fast, but it did happen pretty good in the sense that I like the montage. Like I like how they had the trial and actually called on all those scenes during all the statements.
Me too. Okay, so who surprised you the most in their statement? Is that the
Oh
right
my,
word?
who surprised you the most? Now I want to know your answer so I get it right.
Well, it was Natalia because
Oh yeah.
she
I just
really was solidifying herself into that family's life. Like she's living in the gray. She is growing. She is loving Christina and sticking up for her. She is loving up Sonny and wants to be in his world. And I don't think she's trying to get in his good graces. I think she always is who she is. And I love that she's a strong woman. But I love the line she toes between what's right and the space that we know that she has with that bad guy previously.
what's his name again?
Sidwell.
Sidwell. So that's the thing. If Sidwell's your ex, this is nothing. That's what Johnny said. But yeah,
Yes.
I think the lying had little to do with Sunny and more to do with exactly that. Natalia and her position on this. And I think she's thought a lot about her daughter when she made that choice.
Yes.
and she really identifies with Christina. Like she really truly sees Christina in a different way. And all the good that exists in Christina that she won't acknowledge
Yes.
and her family doesn't acknowledge a lot. Natalia sees that. Like Natalia is the kind of woman who identifies strength and only relates to that. And so for her to
Yes.
bond with Christina means she sees that part. She sees the fight in her. Because I personally don't think Natalia could have connected with Christina if she wasn't tough.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, 100% I think that she solidified herself into that circle of trust. Rick trying his hardest to make his points. There was one thing that I thought Christina could have done to kind of like twist the knife a little bit, like when he made her cry and it was really rough. I think
Hmm.
she should have said, she should have called him Uncle Rick when she got off the stand to really to
Yes.
really
Oh
throw off the jury.
man.
Like I don't agree with Christina lying. I think it's kind of nuts to like this is a really big deal, like the death of a
Yeah.
baby, and to then just decide like Ava should take the blame for it.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Um, but I get it because the alternative would mean it was her. And I think she knows that how that will go with like Molly or TJ. I think what surprised me a lot is how Molly was very sympathetic to Christina.
Yeah, that was like new. It felt out of character and
I
pushed.
yeah, like I don't know what was going on there because when that happened, she was at this point Rick was bringing up all this stuff about Christina and saying like you were going to keep the baby, so highlighting that part. And so now Christina is in a courtroom talking about her baby, her baby, her baby, and the baby was mine.
Hmm.
And you're seeing Molly and TJ in the background, and that's got to be a lot to hear. But
Hmm.
right after that, it was literally right after that where you see her having an emotional reaction, and TJ even looked at her like, "What?" So after
Right?
that, he had this look, and she just kind of shuts it all down and goes, "I have to be there for Christina, or she'll never forgive herself." And I'm like, "What is happening?" Like, I don't know if this is her, you know, pushing away the pain, and it's not just grief about the baby. This is about, you know, losing the baby in a different way.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to understand, is this just another case of Molly um pushing her stuff to the side? Is this Molly leaning on where she feels the most comfortable, and she, as much as she complains about Christina being a mess, she does like it because it puts her in a role of caretaker and superior.
100%.
So it's like, I don't know if it's a combination of that. And the thing about Christina and Molly is that I actually don't know how Sam's death has affected them. I really don't, because they just have so many things happening. And I feel
Hmm.
like they haven't even processed their stuff, that everything is still very extreme and black and white. It's like, we were on the outs. Now let's be together. Family's important. Let's be together. Like there's no nuance with them. And
Yes.
so when Molly, like when Sam died, Molly was very much like, I have to be in charge. I have to take care of things. And so I don't know if
Hmm.
that plays into it too. Like Sam's not here. I want to like do what Sam would do for Christina. Like I don't know what's going on with her, but I was really taken aback by that because it's a lot for her to process as well.
Yes.
Um, Look, I do hope Ava gets off on this one because it's a lot to carry on your shoulders. But
Absolutely.
Rick, it was bold when he walked up to her and the episode had ended with him saying, "Why are you lying?"
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. As much as I feel torn about Rick and his parenting style and how cutthroat he can be, he did amazing. He
I
was
was happy.
really good.
He was really good. I was happy to see oh yeah, his closing. His closing.
Yes.
Yeah, like I mean that was a winner. That was a winner. Like I think he did really good at that. But like I like that they showed Molly pushing back a little bit at his tactics.
Yes.
Like outside the courtroom, like when her and TJ
Hmm.
were kind of like upset, but he did win. Like I think he won professionally, but I think he did win personally because he turned over to Molly when he was talking and confirming this was just an accident.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Molly can do with that, because if it was an accident, it means your sister's straight up lying. So what do you do with that?
Oh, it's so much, but it's like we almost need to see her get to a breaking point because exactly the things you said before. Like she just goes into automatic Molly mode and she seems to be okay with that, but at some point something's got to give and this is going to push
Yeah.
her to that edge.
Yeah, like like, look, I think she's gonna land on the side, eventually of loving her sister, but I mean, she's rightfully has a lot to figure out, like I love my sister, but she did this thing that really hurt me. And I'm sure she can get past it, but like she also at some point has to acknowledge it. And she also has
Yes,
to acknowledge things about herself that need to be a little different and maybe start prioritizing herself instead of her sister that she tends to kind of do automatically.
exactly.
So, I mean, that was actually pretty intense, and it looks like it's over. That we would have a like a judgment soon. But the one thing that I thought happened for zero reason was that when Alexis gets kicked out, Sunny's like, "Ugh, let's get out of here." I was just like,
I
"Sunny, you
know, like what?
don't have to go. You don't have to go." Like I was glad that Dante was there, but I was the one thing I have to disagree with is that what did he say? He's like, Rick said something about Christina's emotional state, like emotions getting the better of her.
Yes,
And like you let your emotions get the better of you. But I was like, I'm not sure that was demonstrated. Because if I'm watching this, if you're trying to show me she's erratic, you're pushing her. So I'm watching someone
exactly.
react to you. So I wasn't sure if he actually got that point across. And I kind of wonder if this trial is the beginning of reframing how everybody looks at her and her so-called emotions. Because the prosecutor actually said when he said something about like her emotions, she kind of objected and said, "What emotions and what is like intense or something like that."
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like that she actually questioned that because
Yes,
that's what we question. Sometimes big things actually happen. And if she's having
exactly.
big emotions, that's fine. Unless like that's like having a big feeling, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're not going around doing like actions that are hurtful. And I can't say
Yes,
that Christina necessarily always does things that are hurtful when she's heightened, but she just has the heightened emotions. And a lot of the times people just freak out when she has the emotions,
exactly.
and she does do stuff which is emotional too. But anyway, so yeah, so that definitely took like a huge chunk out of this week.
It did, and we talked about all the things, and we covered all of the stuff. I have one quick line, and we have one housekeeping thing to take care of before we go. So,
Oh, oops.
okay, my favorite line was Sasha Maxi. Time flies when you're talking about family dysfunction.
Oh, that was so good. Yes, Gold Star to their scenes. My favorite line is actually from last week. It was from Christina. Life is
Mhm.
smacking the brat out of me.
Yes, so good. Honestly, stars everywhere.
James,
Everybody. Oh gosh, yeah. Sasha, Komalulu on her feet, just going
Maxi,
on tour. Drew for being a bad guy. Michael
bad. He's
Krieger.
so bad. And like I guess Brooklyn and Chase watching a movie, and
Oh
Olivia,
goodness.
Olivia and Lois and Gio.
Yes, amazing. All of them stars for everybody this week. Okay, so housekeeping is that so December 6th, Mish has a life.
Well, I'm going to the Christmas party at work, so we're not going to record then, which means that we have 2 dates left. So guys, don't forget. So what's happening is, let me just get a calendar here. So we're going to have a podcast for you on the 14th and the 21st. And then starting, I think the 23rd, around then is our Gold Star Award. So that's when we're going to be voting on a whole bunch of stuff on our Instagram page.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's it. We're not
Two
having a
more
podcast.
podcasts to wrap up the year. Woo
Yes, after next week.
woo. Okay, so no podcast on December 7th. We will be returning December 14th and
Yes.
21st to wrap up the year.
Yes.
Folks, that's a wrap. Have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to go and finish up my Snoop wine and take it easy and enjoy the rest of my birthday.
Yes, have a good ending to your birthday day. That was
Thank
so long.
you.
I didn't know how to just say happy birthday. Sorry.
Bye.
Hey, you didn't end it
Oh,
like I
well,
know you normally do.
that's a wrap because of the wine. Bye.
Bye.